Chat, here we go. We got ourselves a nice 1v1 show match between Ghaazi and Abdullah. And Abdullah is somebody that we have had on the stream before. I believe he played a match against Evo and then a couple matches against Nugget. And while he looked promising, he ran into Nugget during a time when Nugget looked actually completely unbeatable. We'll see, you know, if we have Nugget on again, if he can reach that same level of ability. So Abdullah about 1-1. He actually ended up playing 2 matches against Nugget. He did lose them both, but they were all back-to-back. Now, on the other side of the field, it's time to talk a little bit about Ghaazi, because you maybe haven't heard about Ghaazi before, but he was the winner of the Champions Road MENA 1v1 tournament. This 1v1 tournament that we maybe, if you didn't watch stuff live, you didn't really catch, because I don't know if there's a ton of VODs of it out there if you're watching on YouTube, but a 1v1 tournament that was run the weekend before Worlds that had, you know, it was officially run by Epic, so it had everybody who could play in it, for the most part, playing in it, and we expected to see winners across the board that we had on stream before that we knew were very talented 1v1ers. You know, you go to North America, Wavy won. You go to South America, Diaz won. You go over to Europe, Nas won. These are all names that we'd expect to see winning, and over in MENA, I would say the number 1 seed was clearly Nush. I think we were expecting to see Nush come out on top. We've seen him on stream many times. The Falcons were not playing in the tournament, but it was actually Ghaazi, and Ghaazi is a guy that the Team Rock team, now Vision, had actually told me about in the past and said, yo, Ghaazi is a top player. You need to get him on. We didn't manage to get him on before the MENA Champions Road, but Ghaazi has proven that he's more than capable to play at this highest level, despite his ones rating actually being, you know, somewhat low, which I think was probably the slight hesitation with Ghaazi in the past. But I tell you what, no better way to prove it than just beating everybody in the region. And we'll see if he can beat Abdullah as he goes up 2-1. I think Abdullah is just somebody that is has MENA excited in terms of upcoming talent from the region. The Falcons have started to show that they can be championship, you know, contending teams coming out of MENA. And so where is going to be the replacements? You know, will MENA continue to have that same level even when not just looking at the Falcons? And a lot of people are looking to, you know, the Team Rock now Vision team, but I think Abdullah and Ghaazi are players that people should be looking at as well. Great use of the empty jump from Abdullah to get himself back down to the ground quicker in order to get back up to make that shot. He's got this at a tie game, 2-2. Ghaazi on the kickoff win. Try to get the tight angle. Abdullah is going to have a hard time protecting this possession with how heavy of a touch he made. And now he's got boost stolen. Good challenge right here in the corner, because he was about to be stuck in the ringer. And I say that, but he still ends up getting scored on. So maybe it didn't work out like I thought. At the very least, he got himself the midfield 100, but made himself a sitting duck for the bump. And actually even jumped into it to send himself flying even more. So Ghaazi going to be up 3-2. Now, talking about the Champions Road 1v1, we were expecting Nush to win. Abdullah is a guy that I would have expected to play well in the 1v1, but I haven't really asked him. I don't think he competed in it. He, you know, seemingly should have been able to, because his team wasn't at the World Championships or anything, but I guess you never know what other things somebody might be up to. I would have expected Abdullah to finish top 4 based on the players that did make it there. And we'll see if he can prove that by taking down the champion, who's going to drop a what a save as Ghaazi trying to sneak it in near post, and now needs to try and survive and make the clear. He put the ball on target, and Abdullah will be the one to finish it. Awkward from Ghaazi. Maybe should have completely disregarded the ball and just tried to rotate back. You know, if he had touched that any stronger, he would have just straight up own goaled it. There's no way he was going to be able to get all the way around it to the other side of the net. So 4-3 for Abdullah. Back and forth game between these two players from KSA. And an air dribble bump from Ghaazi will tie it up. Abdullah fake challenge. Got him to pop. Ghaazi seemed like he thought about pointing his car down for the resets there for a moment, but ultimately deciding to just keep the dribble going and take Abdullah out of the picture. Ghaazi getting pre-jumped. Abdullah started his jump long before Ghaazi even did, and he will steal it away and cash it in for the lead. A bounce that was very clearly a good position to set up an air dribble, and Abdullah definitely knew it and used that to his advantage. Ooh, zap dash from Ghaazi actually manages to get him out ahead of the Abdullah demo. We were watching from his POV, and that's a great play from Ghaazi. As the ball was falling down to the ground, it seemed like the line to line up a demo was clear, but the little landing dash from Ghaazi gives him a burst of speed that's unexpected. He takes it down the whole field to eventually get his goal. I don't know if either one of these guys has led by more than one this entire time. Maybe one of them has led by 2, but I think they've just been trading the lead back and forth. Is Ghaazi going to steal the front right boost from Abdullah? Got a pad or two as he transitions to the back wall. He's trying to stay moving in net, but Ghaazi never panics. Plays it off the bounce and ends up placing it top right. Ghaazi is the best player in MENA. I think that might be a slight exaggeration, but he is definitely a top player. Here's going to be a 2-goal lead, and it comes off of a fake from Ghaazi after Abdullah lost the kickoff, expecting the touch there, and wanted to 50 it out to the midfield, but it was all a fake. Never saw you at Worlds. I'm sad. I'm sorry to... I didn't actually stay the whole time, and I'm sure there's a few people that I ended up missing, which I do apologize for. I tried to find a chance to say hi to anybody who did message me, but I think even somebody who did message me, I ended up not being able to find them because they messaged me right before I had to go. But there will be more North American lands, and I promise to be at some of those as well. Ghaazi, nice reset shot. There haven't been too much aerial gameplay between these two, but Ghaazi will take this one up into the air and show he's more than capable of getting and using resets when he needs to. How old is he? That's actually an interesting question. I don't know for sure how old Ghaazi is. I don't think he's a youngster like the Rock team. But I'd still guess he's in his teens, like many new Rocket League players we hear about are. He's 18. Okay, there you go. And that's pre-flip flick. Ghaazi getting separation. Abdullah dropping the nice one as he tries to defend off the side wall. He is so afraid to commit, but look at that pre-flip flick. That is saucy. It's at low speed, but it's exactly what he needed, as he made it look like he was going to that right side from Abdullah's POV. So he set up square to that with very low boost, and no way he was going to be able to make it back. Now Ghaazi going quickly, trying to slam in a double. Does get denied. Abdullah actually does still have a chance to bring it back here. He needs to score on this possession, starting from a side wall to air dribble, and nice use of the flip to again reposition himself and put him on the side of the ball, and ends up tapping it back near post. Not something you'd expect from that position if you're Ghaazi, but just about perfect placement. Now a 9-7 lead. Abdullah, a decent kickoff win, has to take this full field air dribble. Ghaazi knows it as well, so he has gone to the ceiling to decline that air dribble, and a ground pinch will secure the game. What speed was it? Oh, only 99 kilometers per hour. It certainly felt faster than that, but I guess just shy of 100. What's their ping? Well, I mentioned this before the match started, but normally the MENA players, even when playing against themselves, want to play in EU, but these guys actually both said they want to play on Middle East servers, so they probably have pretty decent ping. Ghaazi 36, Abdullah 16. Very rare to see MENA players with such good connections, but Ghaazi is going to take the Game 1 win as he tries to prove that he won Champions Road, not just because Abdullah wasn't there. Game number 2, Ghaazi and Abdullah. A close battle down to the final minute or so before Ghaazi was able to pull it away. And even then, it was still technically in reach. First kick out going to go to Abdullah. Very interesting decision here from Ghaazi to get out on the side of the ball and no jump the kickoff. Presumably trying to set up some sort of chip that happened. You know, it ended up going to the top of his net and straight down. I don't know if that's exactly what he wanted, but it had to be some variation of that. He has to know he's not winning the kickoff if he sets up that way. And then a very peculiar miss. Not something that we've really seen from him in game one. Just panicking. And I wouldn't even necessarily say it was because of a fake. I'd maybe have to go back and look to see if Abdullah threatened turning in at all. But Abdullah, oh my goodness, he actually tried to go for a nasty double off the back wall using, or I guess it would be a triple, using the reset backboard touch. But Ghaazi was actually there for it. He read that somehow and made the save to prevent it. Unable to get the counter. Ghaazi now going to take to the skies. We saw him air dribble bump earlier. It is going to be a pogo. A bit weak, but still gets Abdullah having a double jump on the goal line and potentially putting him in a bad spot, but Abdullah has saved his boost. Still decided that a long shot is worth it, and it actually pays off. Not often do you want to see this, and yeah, Ghazi's going to give himself a what a save thanks, because I'm sure he feels like he should not have done this. I mean, there are tons of ways to save that. He kind of overshot it and put himself past the angle and had to reverse back to get a touch. I mean, you just slow down there a little bit on the setup. You just save that across your net with ease. But it's probably because I was thinking about criticizing Abdullah's decision to just boom the ball. Seemed like a mistake, and yet naturally he scores off of it. Ghaazi going to put one on target high. That's a little bit different from what Abdullah does, because it does force boost out of the defender's tank, but Abdullah able to reset on 100 and challenge quickly. We had just about the closest, sweatiest game in game number one for many, many minutes, and now at the start of game two, it's all Abdullah. Ghaazi wants the low 50. Abdullah going to clean up the backboard before it can fall and become shootable. Ghaazi side flip. This is all quite all in of a play, considering he's at a boost disadvantage here on offense, but it ends up paying off, and now he's in a much better position. Trying again to get a fake into a 50. Did not work out. Boost going to spawn nicely for him. That's going to be essential for him getting back to make this play. Now, cutting back infield. Abdullah defensively has had a great read on everything Ghaazi has been trying to do. Ghaazi has yet to trick him up, or trip him up, I should say, late in this game, but it's going to be the pop and delayed flip that'll get him on the board. Chipping that ball up in the air, getting underneath it, making it seem like he was going to take an initial shot, and then using the tail end of his car as he rolls through to get his first. He's going to need a few more. And there's the first of a few on a direct kickoff win off the side wall. Coming off the diagonal, Abdullah seemed like he was attacking it just directly in a straight line towards the ball. Ghaazi got goal side. Abdullah doesn't even want to mess with the next diagonal kickoff, as he will just half flip off the ball. Wouldn't even say he faked it. He just waited, and Ghaazi, not making the right play, does end up handing in possession quickly and then having to defend against an aerial attack, which Abdullah seems to be very effective with. Did a good job of setting that ball up, angled towards the left post, which does not allow Ghaazi to stay on the back wall to defend. If he wants to meet Abdullah in the air early, he's going to have to leave the wall early, which is what he ended up doing. And gets punished as the deficit is back to 3. Ghaazi, nice shot here. A reset shot off of a carry into air dribble. Ooh, a bit of a mistake from Abdullah that helps make it possible. You see him trying to set up the shadow just underneath the play and messed up his flip there slightly. Ghaazi can use the zap dash to make up for this mistake. No. He seems to feel comfortable hitting the zap dash. but not even that can make up for the miss. Abdullah expecting Ghaazi to cut up the side wall. Trying to prepare for that with the demo. Nice pre-flip out to the ball. Just quicker than Ghaazi is expecting. And Ghaazi even going to drop him the nice one, as he did not expect Abdullah to be able to get out and make that play. Had to use the last little bits of boost that he had. Now the lead back to 4. Ghaazi has not been able to gain any ground since letting Abdullah take the early lead. Even though he's got some scoring now, it's coming with more scoring for Abdullah as well. Abdullah going to make it 9-3 as he is getting warmed up here in 1v1. Is trying to put the hurt on Ghaazi. Ghaazi, expert chasing of the ball here off the kickoff to get his goal, as he is able to beat Abdullah out to the midfield 100. Ghaazi off the kickoff. Just going to boom the ball near post. See if he can't use that as an opportunity to extend the possession longer with a low boost defender, and he might be able to score now as Abdullah falls to the ground on 0, making him an easy target. And the demo gets him once again back within 4, but he's kind of run out of time to try and bring back this deficit. Not impossible, but it's going to take a bit of a choke job from Abdullah on the kickoffs. And Abdullah's already shown that they're willing to back off and play fakes, which is probably what we're going to start seeing here in the final 42 seconds. Abdullah actually decides to just stick with it, power through, and even wins a diagonal kickoff that he was having trouble with earlier. Ghaazi absolutely did pretty good, I would say, in RLCS 1v1, since he did win the whole event. He was up 1-0 here against Abdullah, but it's looking like we're going into game 3 tied. I'll start a prediction for the rest of the series, since these guys will be 1-1 going forward. You guys can drop your Gamba in for those Gamba addicts I see in chat. Since the 4-0 lead early, 6-6 for Ghaazi and Abdullah. So Ghaazi did stop the bleeding, just not quite enough to make up for the poor starts. And he might even try and get one more just to make a point. Game 2 going to go to Abdullah, which is the best of 3 to separate these two. Game number 3. Ghaazi and Abdullah. Ghaazi, the one no longer with momentum, as Abdullah seemed to have him figured out for the most part at the start of the game, but he'll get himself a lead back right away to open game number 3. Abdullah thought he had a chance to carry up the side wall. Actually going to be forced to own goal because the ball comes flying out with orange trail, showing that Abdullah was the last to touch it. But the kickoffs have been very volatile from both these guys. I'm not sure that we've seen too many wave dash kickoffs from either one of them, which is not very common in today's ones game. In fact, I think standard kickoffs almost, at the very least, about 50-50 with people who go for the wave dash. Certainly, maybe even, definitely some players that are heavily wave dash kickoff favored, and only occasionally go for standards. You know, I'm not sure why I'm going to answer this question, but I think I do know the answer, so I might as well. Somebody says, why can't Johnny use Chalkcast money to pay for tournaments? Wasn't that the whole point of donating to the Patreon? I think they did that. I think they did that. As a Chalkcast fan myself, they ran a tournament with money from the Chalkcast Patreon as like an advertisement for the podcast / Patreon. And I think what they said is it basically didn't work. It didn't go well. And so what they this is me speaking for them. This is what I remember them saying. They realized that it works better to just use the money to like set up opportunities for them to get together and make content together or whatever for Chalkcast. Like that makes more sense and gives more value to the people who are watching the podcast. Anyways, that's what I remember them saying. Why I decided to try and explain that when I'm not part of it, we'll never know. 2-2 for Abdullah and Ghaazi. As Ghaazi trying to shrug off the fact that Abdullah threw him off on the landing. Actually, what a save. How did he keep that out with 0 boost? And then Abdullah actually just shoots it over the net to bail Ghaazi out slightly, who was going to have a really tough time continuing to make saves on shots that were on target, but he wasn't fully bailed out because Abdullah still finds a way to score. Hope we get to cast next year's Worlds 1v1. Yeah, so if you guys haven't been keeping up with the YouTube, I did make a video talking about the new changes to RLCS 1v1. Maybe you only ever click on the show matches, but RLCS is going to be having 1v1 official tournaments. Basically, single qualifiers before the LANs, and then one grand final match played at the LANs. And I'm excited. I think it's going to be really interesting to see. Hopefully they give titles for it and they, give a decent amount of prize, and we get everybody involved in trying to become the 1v1 LAN champion, because I think that could lead to a lot of fun matches, and I think people will be really excited. I'm hoping that we get a guy like Diaz on LAN, and I feel like people are going to go crazy because the way Diaz plays, I just feel like we'll have the crowd popping off every single goal at LAN. Abdullah going to defend this area well and give himself the lead. As of right now, haven't heard anything from Epic. I found out just like everyone else with the news about the RLCS 1v1. Don't know what potentially could happen in the future, but even, worst case scenario, guys, we'll be live watch partying those official RLCS 1v1s right here. So it's all good. Ghaazi air dribble. Abdullah tried to bail out of the early challenge and went back down to the ground. Pretty disappointing that's only a total of like 3 show matches on LAN. Just wait. I think people will... Well, you know what? It better not be best of 1. But I'm assuming it won't be. I'm assuming they'll give him a nice best of 7. 1 best of 7 on LAN, surely. They can do that. They've done 1v1s on LAN before. They were all best of 1. But even if it's just best of 5, best of 7s can be pretty long. If I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of someone who isn't a big 1s fan, like I am, obviously I'm down for as many games as possible, but I think I'm biased in that regard. Nice read on the challenge from Ghaazi to make it 5-5. 1v1 in the RLCS? Well, I'll tell you what, you gotta go check out my YouTube and watch the video in which I talk about it. We don't need to talk about it too much here, but yes, RLCS is including official 1v1 tournaments as part of the RLCS circuit. Abdullah on an air dribble, got ahead of the ball. Ghaazi making the save and not able to get back to the ball to make a long shot before Abdullah recovers. Time and space for Ghaazi. I've seen a couple of his air dribbles fall short of the net. This time he's not going to make that mistake. And I like this adjustment from Ghaazi If you do not get that ball all the way to the goal line through the air, you're going to find yourself often getting counterattacked and often getting saved. This time Ghaazi still going back to that air dribble bump, but this time with the ball crossing high on the goal line. 6-5, catching Abdullah out for a very aggressive challenge here off of a kickoff loss. Could argue it was a win, I guess, and maybe he felt that way after he pushed it into Ghazi's corner, but got to recognize when possession is no longer in your control. In your opinion, what's something that defines MENA playstyle more than other regions? I mean, for 3v3, they're just incredibly fast. That has been, one of the definitions. I guess South America is known for that as well. Abdullah going to get his reset shot saved as Ghaazi about to go on match point. But for the longest time, the bounce dribble and the ground game, was ahead of its time over there in MENA. I think that oftentimes regions will emulate, whoever's playing best in their region. I think that had led to a lot of people doing these wall-to-air dribbles type attacks that Chronic and Daniel were doing around the time that they were the best over in North America. Not that they potentially still might be, but maybe not playing as much. Khaled with his bounce dribbles and ground game was something that a lot of MENA players were emulating, but that hasn't always been the case. Now there's guys like Nupo who are like the extreme on the other end. Abdullah, what a catch and a fake. But actually, Ghazi's still going to get the save just to make a point. I mean, he's won the game either way. Oh, never mind. He is going to get bumped, and it will be a goal for Abdullah. But game number 3 going to go to Ghaazi. Ghaazi debuting his first show match on stream, but far from his first one's competitive match, as he is the champion of MENA's Champions Road. Game number 4. Ghaazi and Abdullah. Could this be the beginning of a streak of wins for the debut player Ghaazi? Or will Abdullah be able to force a game 5? Abdullah just trying to boom the ball top left corner off the kickoff. In fact, he thought he got it hard enough that he's ready to drop a what a save. Not often you're able to beat somebody to the net with that, but he felt like he could. Ghaazi, credit to him, got the save, and now getting beat by the fake. A couple different fakes to get Ghaazi in the air. How was the experience at Fort Worth? It was great. I've been to Fort Worth before, in the same exact arena. I watched Monkey Moon steal the hearts. That's not the phrase I want to say. Steal the hearts, I think, of the North American crowd would usually mean, they started liking him. But I guess he crushed the hearts of the North American crowd once again, which, that is the North American Rocket League experience. So I'm glad all the fans got to have it live in person. Ghaazi, nice carry. He made himself a villain. Yeah, he definitely leaned into it. I think that's the first time I remember really him leaning into it that hard. BDS was getting a ton of boos from the crowd. I don't know if that's just because it's the same exact crowd from a couple years ago who remember getting beat by BDS and just doesn't want to see it again. Because I don't think they've really done, much booable offenses. You want to see 3-1s mains that never play 3s form a stack and play against pros? How many of the top 1s players out there never play 3s? I think that you're talking about pretty much just Moxie. Just about every other top 1s player is dabbling quite heavily in 3s. Dark plays 3s. Dark and his team in the RLCS, we've Covered that a couple times. Ghaazi leaning back for a reset, and another use of the air roll around the ball to hit a soft shot, but most importantly, a shot that's redirected away from Abdullah. Abdullah prepping for something to head across the nets. Instead, he drops it in near side. Cosmic is playing threes as well. You know, you could argue maybe they're not having as much success in threes. But I think Moxie just straight up doesn't even play RLCS qualifiers. Abdullah taking away this possession as Ghaazi forced to get it clear across the goal line with 0. Ghaazi booming to the top shelf. Now can he go the distance of the field? We've seen a few of his air dribbles drop early, but he's going to go pogo shot, and Abdullah makes the save, just barely. Able to send it screaming across the goal line, just outside the post. Now Ghaazi going to try again. Even though Ghaazi, the few times that he's gone for this dribble, hasn't been able to make it there. He's used the pogo twice. This time he's going to use a nice finish on the musty to get it to net. It would have crossed in the air, but it was a bit low. So Abdullah again makes a save. Abdullah's had some solid defense against the Ghaazi aerial attacks. Now Ghaazi just chipping one towards net. I don't think that was the best thing he could have gotten there. But he's hoping for an extended possession like this one. Got himself another chance. Abdullah's going to be able to reset on 100. Bounce dribble across the goal line into a carry and another pre-flip flick. I mean, at this point, it's starting to become Ghazi's specialty. In just the few games we've watched him play, he does such a good job at threatening like he's going to that right post, and then next thing you know, he's pre-flipped underneath it and placed it so far in the other direction that Abdullah could never stand a chance. And as soon as Abdullah starts, you know, staying back on that left post, it becomes a much easier shot for Ghaazi. He just shoots it, you know, directly at the net. What a shot from Abdullah. These guys coming alive here. Another kickoff win into air dribble for Abdullah. He gets the reset and gets way out underneath it to pop it right back up top shelf. Here is some wave dash kickoffing that I was saying we hadn't seen a ton of. It's going to be instantly rewarded for Ghaazi as Abdullah gets caught over the top. I have a poor connection to this MENA server. That's why they're kind of jumping around on my stream. I think there's a 200 or like 300 millisecond delay. It's probably like 300, something like that for spectators. But once we get all the way out to Middle East servers, we're starting to push it. We're starting to push it to even with the intentional delay to make things smoother. There's the occasional blip. Ghaazi gonna miss on the clear off the back wall. Now it's 6-5. Ghaazi, another pre-flip flick. Also seems to love his zap dashes, but hasn't been able to use one to make the difference in a play just yet. A mistouch forces him into a way less desirable air dribble. And Abdullah just lost his. He's the one who needs a goal here. And a rule 1 in the final moments is not something Abdullah is willing to do. Down 1 in a 1v1. As Abdullah goes to ceiling height, hits the ball down, but it's wide of the nets. Both these guys are going to have boost. Abdullah needs to be careful with this possession. Could be the last one. He really gets a chance in. He got a demo somehow, and he couldn't get it inside the far post. Ghaazi going to respawn on the near side. The perfect position. So Abdullah will once again cut across the net. He did not steal that corner boost. Bit of a mistake. But if he can clutch it up right here in this moment, it might not matter. That air dribble wasn't quite it, but Ghaazi got way too distracted with the boost. Ghaazi had done such a good job so far, but wanted to get the 100 and maybe even dodge what he thought could be a bump, as he did not seem to rush back to make a save, and Abdullah will cut it and get a goal. So 19 seconds left to go. Ghaazi, if he can score, can win the series before game 5, whether he scores now or in overtime. Abdullah trying to extend it, and he might be able to do so without needing any overtime at all. Ghaazi carrying the ball. Thought he's going to have a bit more time before the challenge. Abdullah just dunking him and getting back for the catch to make it 7-6. Moments ago, it seemed like this series was going to be over early before game 5. Oh, a little bump at the end to secure it. We're going game 5 in Ghazi's debut against Abdullah. Game 5. Ghaazi and Abdullah. Can Ghaazi start off his tenure on the stream on the right foot? Or will Abdullah be able to correct his? I think that would make Abdullah 2-2, with his 2 losses being to Nuggets, if he could take down Ghaazi. Ghaazi going to start with possession in game 5. Chip into the corner is going to be tough for Abdullah. Ghaazi actually went near post, whether out of necessity, running out of boost, or because he was trying to catch Abdullah over-rotating. Either way, Abdullah able to make the save. Ghaazi into the air again. Another pogo shot. This time it's going to work, and one more tap in order to style it on the way in. Ghaazi on his way down to the ground catches Abdullah challenging, just flying underneath the ball, and he could have just let it fall in, but why not jump up for one more? Abdullah with a chance to respond on the second kickoff of the game, and he will do just that. Gets the resets on the air dribble, and that gets Ghaazi in the net, trying to jump and react. Cannot stop him off the bounce. Ghaazi, little camera check. See if he's going to be able to beat Abdullah. He felt like he could, and he was right. Going to demo him in the back corner. Now Ghaazi on the bounce dribble just flicks immediately. He knows Abdullah has been wanting to challenge as early as possible, and so he's making the right adjustments, not letting him dunk the ball. Instead, just lobbing it high. Might have even been in. I think it was slightly off. Did need one more touch, but an easy one to get all the same. Ghaazi, a big clear as he was out of boost, and then had the wherewithal to cut that ball early at the sacrifice of picking up the 100 immediately, but he just needed to break up Abdullah's play. Could pick up the 100 after, which is exactly what happens. But now Abdullah on an air dribble all the way from the back corner has the reset and gets it out ahead of Ghaazi. Ghaazi got a touch, but it was not enough. Abdullah, great acceleration using the resets. If Ghaazi could make that save and keep it out, probably felt good about a counterattack. Seemed to be kind of waiting and prepping for that save across the net, but did not get it clean. Just ends up forcing it into the top right. Ghaazi not able to get ahead of the early challenge of Abdullah this time around. Seemed to realize his mistake on the heavy touch to get the high bounce. Wanted to correct for it and pop the ball over the top of Abdullah, but couldn't do it in time. This time slowing down on the reset. Abdullah, oh my goodness, what was that dashing? We were on his POV. I feel like I have to go back and see what he did there, because it sounded like he maybe zap dashed out to try and catch back up to it. The sound of it was certainly crazy, as Abdullah, who it felt like in the waning seconds of game number 4 wasn't even going to be in this position, and now up a goal in game 5. Ghaazi kickoff, front flip flick to get himself an opportunity on net. Abdullah made the first save, but not the second. And we're back to tied. Yeah, I marked the replay around when the dash happened. We can go check it out after. Ghaazi on the bounce dribble, hook shots denied. Actually gets credited with a shot. I felt like it was not likely to go in, crossbar down, but something that Abdullah still probably wants to clean up, especially if it was, but could not carry it off the back wall. Ghaazi will punish him for his landing. Take it away. Abdullah denied on his kickoff. Lean back for the reset, and Ghaazi was not trying to close the distance all the way to the opposite post. You could tell by his movements. He says lag. He's expecting Ghaazi to just have completely lagged there. Oh yeah, they're lagging super hard. I wonder if I can pause it. Did the scoreboard update when it's paused? 4-4, 145. I am going to unpause. Okay, we can change server. Sure. 4-4 at 145. I can't type to them for some reason. Yeah, let's just change server. Dash. That's why we wanted to save that. 4-4 at 145, right, chat? This one looks fine. Let it go for a bit so that we can then pause it and put it back to 4-4 at 145. And we are good to go. All right, back into game 5. Some server issues. Maybe this is the reason why the MENA players often select EU. I don't know if MENA servers poop like that a lot, and they just don't even want to deal with it. And they'll just take slightly higher ping in order to not have to. But either way, we're into a new server now, and Abdullah is going to win this kickoff to make it 5-4. Biggest upset of the RLCS World Championships? Yeah, it had to be the Gen G losses for sure. And I guess specifically the one to Pioneers, since that would be the team of the two that you'd expect the least to be able to take them down. Ghaazi pulling down off of the air dribble and preparing for the 50. Just setting up the fake. Never even once touched the ball, it looked like, after jumping in the air. Such a good job of air rolling to get a clean catch and convert for a goal. Oh, wow. It looked like Ghaazi maybe had the save. Was that my connection? Or did he not hit that ball across the net? Did it at least have blue trip? No, he just got completely demoed. Yeah, that might have been my connection. It looked like he got the ball and then got demoed, but the replay and server will suggest otherwise, which means an Abdullah goal, and now Abdullah up 2 with 1:03. Ghaazi was so close to getting this series win, but now he's gonna have to clutch up if he wants to pull it off. Ghaazi low 50, muscles it in. He's done a good job in general all series long of just playing mind games and faking hook shots, actually taking them, never really letting Abdullah know which way he's going to go. This time Abdullah was not fully ready for the low 50. Ghaazi playing out of defense. Down 1. Abdullah going to the ceiling height. First time we've seen someone go to the ceiling for the reset. It's going to be a fake, and Abdullah's going to be rewarded. Ghaazi looking to try and defend on the goal line. Something that's going to be really tough to do. You see him falling his wheels off the back wall and then just dropping a backflip. That is not going to cut it. But he is going to outplay Abdullah, who tried to rush to this one. So with 28 seconds left to go, still a chance for Ghaazi, who needs a solid kickoff. Abdullah maybe trying to surprise with a wave dash, but a very lofty single jump into dash. Something that Ghaazi, even without the best camera, could feel coming, and has won another kickoff now. Another fake and goes low. Ghaazi has Abdullah on strings. We've seen air dribble bumps. We've seen pre-flip flicks. We've seen so many things from Ghaazi that Abdullah feels the need to try and protect it all. And it leads to a fake being able to slide right in off of a slight roll. Now another kickoff win for Ghaazi. He has no more options left, but a hook shot's going to do it. Lost the ball off the top of his car. So the only thing he could do was go for this hook shot. And it's still going to be enough. Abdullah trying to cut in field, just didn't get the read. I mean, he should have been able to see the hook shot coming. And if he had stayed out on the goal line, I think he would have been able to make the save, but he chose to dive in on the ball and now has to delay a kickoff. Ghaazi up 1. Abdullah going to have to play with 12 boosts, so he has to just do something off of this play. And I don't know if that was going to be enough. Rolling the ball on the ground. Ghaazi does indeed clutch it out after just barely losing game number 4. He'll take it in game 5.